Our first guest tonight, we've been waiting 2.5 years for this moment, is BYU's first Hall of Fame quarterback, inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1994. He quarterbacked the Cougars in the mid-'70s before playing 6 seasons in the NFL for the Houston Oilers. Just finished his assignment as a General Authority 70 for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Spent the last 2 years overseeing the church's growth in West Africa. He's here with us tonight. It's our pleasure to welcome Gifford Nielsen to the Wise Guys. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
What do you think of the place?
This is remarkable. I can see why you guys are having so much fun here.
Yes. So when we talked earlier today, you said, are you guys in a house? I go, trust me, when you come in, you'll go, hey, this is a pretty cool setup.
This is a really cool setup. I think it might be the nicest basement I've ever been in.
And so we always tell people, for security reasons, that it's in an undisclosed location.
We
in
don't
Provo.
need the police involved.
People start to give it away. It's like up on a hill. We're like, guys, hey, no, don't. We work in beautiful studios all the time, but this show's whole theme is, it's casual. It's just folks talking. Trying to find people doing good things in the world. It's about sports. It's about entertainment. And this atmosphere makes it feel like we're just in somebody's house having a visit.
I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm in West Provo.
What? Okay, good.
In your previous life, you were a broadcaster, a play-by-play guy, understand the game through and through, and the fact that you played it. We have so many questions for you. But let's just start with your reaction to the Wyoming game back on Saturday night. What did you think?
Well, let me start by saying this. Early on in a season, you just want to win.
Yeah.
You just have to win. And it doesn't matter how you get those wins, you just have to win, and that gains confidence in a team. So, when I watched the first game and I watched the second game offensively was not a pretty game.
Right.
And so Jake is trying to find himself as a quarterback, and then you go into the Wyoming game and you play a pretty consistent game all the way through. But you just keep winning and gaining confidence. When you're a quarterback and you start to see some of these plays develop, you start to figure out in your mind, hey, listen, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I think just winning right now, I think Kalani and the coaching staff have done just a tremendous job in instilling this winning attitude with this team. It feels like that they can go and compete against anyone right now, especially defensively, still finding themselves offensively. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be up to Jake just to control his emotions and make sure that he's making the right reads and getting the ball to the right people.
You remember being a first-time starter out there at this level and how it looks. I've told people about my first game against, first time I got in was against San Diego State, and I dropped back and I just ran because everything just looked like a blur downfield. It was like, this isn't like practice. And I went to the sidelines, and Holmgren goes, what did you see? And I went, and he goes, oh, yeah, you'll be fine. I'll be all right. I just felt like everything. Do you remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
And then second to that, you mentioned Jake will say, I can do this, I can do this. Is he also learning, but I can't do this and I can't do that?
Oh, no question about that, Blaine. You know that as well as anyone. You go out on the field and you figure out what plays you can go with and what plays you can't go with. You start to gain confidence with those plays. I can remember Doug Scoville would always come in and look at me and say, okay, what do you feel comfortable running? He would ask me that. Yeah. And I would say, okay, I feel comfortable here. I feel comfortable with Chronister here. I feel comfortable with George Harris going here. Brian Billick can get open. Todd Thompson can get open. I feel comfortable with those plays. And so he would devise and design his offense against opposing defenses on what you feel comfortable doing. So I think that's the mark of a great coach. And I think, sometimes when an offense gets bogged down, the offensive coordinator can do a lot. So Aaron Roderick can do a lot to help Jake get comfortable very fast. It's not too often in a BYU offense, and I don't know all the stats, and I don't know all the names. So you're going to have
That's
to.
That's all right.
Yeah, no,
good.
But you watch it.
I've been in Africa for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But I did watch the SMU game, and I was thinking, okay, Aaron, what have you got to help Jake right now? What have you got for him? Because BYU does not come in and go 3 out 3 or 4 or 5 straight times.
Right.
Especially when the defense is playing so well and giving you field position. They're giving you opportunities to score. At least you're going to get 3 points. What have you got in your offense that can really develop a nice, comfortable, and confident throw for a quarterback? I was watching very carefully in the first game, and I was just watching Jake, and it seemed like he was standing like a statue and throwing the ball. And he has got a very nice arm. He can throw it. He threw that ball. Blaine, how many times do you throw a ball 65 yards in the air for a completion and a touchdown? You don't
hardly
usually do
ever,
that.
right?
It's like 47 yards, 48 and a half yards. If you're Ken Stabler, it's 48 and a half yards.
Exactly.
Right? And that thing is thrown perfectly on time, and that's what we always used to drill on. But to just drop back and just look around and then just throw it 60 to 65 yards and put it right on the money shows you what kind of an arm he's got, right? Yeah. So he's got that. Sometimes what I see with him is kind of a lack of confidence. It's a lack of his feet being in the right place to deliver the ball. If he'll stand confidently in the pocket, this kid is good. Yeah. He can make plays on the run. I mean, I was very impressed against Wyoming, his presence in the pocket, because a couple of times he stood up, moved to his left, moved to his right, and then put it right on the money. So he's got the ability to be a very nice quarterback. In fact, he's playing very well right now.
I was going to say, our old Doug Scoville recruited me, coached you. He always used to say, quarterbacks are built from the ground up. What does he mean by that?
No question, your feet. Not too many people know this, but before I ever got to touch a football at practice, he filmed my feet. Wow. He filmed my feet for 15 minutes every day, and I had to go through every possession. I had to go through every running play. I had to go through every drop. And then the next day, I would be in his office, and he'd go, why are you doing a false step here? Why aren't you getting back away from the center fast enough? Why aren't you doing this? This was just fundamental football.
Why are you throwing with your feet parallel?
He would not let me touch this football right here until we went through 15 minutes of drills on my feet. Wow. And so he would take me in there, and he'd show me some video of some quarterbacks that would take a false step. And he said, those defensive linemen are just looking at your feet. And so they have the advantage. If you move your feet first in a false step, they're gone. You're gone. You just lost the advantage.
They know it's a pass play, so they're coming.
So when you bring that up, fundamentally, Doug Scoville was so strong on fundamentals, making sure that we knew our feet were in the right place before we even threw the ball. We never had to worry about our feet in the game.
How about that?
That's
very interesting.
And Doug's the first person I've ever heard that. Hey, quarterbacks are built from the ground up. Your feet are important.
Brandon Doman was talking about that a couple weeks ago.
Brandon talked about it, his footwork as well. It's fundamental, and anybody that's played the position knows that if you're going to be good, you drill that in. And that's, to me, Jake, if he can master that, he can be really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jake has got all the abilities to be an excellent quarterback. He's an excellent quarterback right now. I think everybody needs to take a nervous pill.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think it's so critical of him right now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a growing and developing young quarterback that has not had a whole lot of experience. I was in West Africa last year, but I saw some of the video and I read some of the reports, and he got put into a really tough situation. When you're a quarterback in the BYU offense and you're forced to throw and you can't run, and you're playing against these teams, you got up here on the board right here, you're dead. You're dead. And you almost beat Oklahoma, you almost beat Oklahoma State. And so he is still a young quarterback and still learning, but he's got a lot of ability to be a very effective quarterback, very good quarterback.
Redondo Beach is on the live stream tonight. Torrance, California. Good to have everybody with us. Greg writes in, Gifford was the reason my number was always 14 growing up. We've heard that.
Number 14 in your program and number 1 in your heart. Is that what they used to say?
Former Cougar quarterback Gifford Nielsen on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Do you ever feel bad for these young quarterbacks? They are in this. They're part of this legacy that goes back so far to guys who were so good. They're in the Hall of Fame. They played in the NFL, and you got a guy like Jake trying to find his way, but he's at BYU, and the pressure to be a BYU quarterback is partly because of you, partly because of Gary, partly because of Jim and Steve, and on and on. Do you sometimes feel bad for these young guys?
No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. Because if you're a BYU quarterback, you know what you're playing. You know the situation.
You came here for it, right?
You came here to play in big games and be a big-time player. And so I really don't feel bad for them. I say go work harder. Yeah. Go watch more film. Do whatever you have to do to do it during your time. It's like, this is our time. Okay, right. I am here. I've been recruited here. What an honor to be recruited as a BYU quarterback. And so, in fact, I stopped by the quarterback room last week. I have not even been in that quarterback room.
Yeah,
and so I looked at all of the quarterbacks, and I said, what an honor it is to be here.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You're all great-looking kids, and I hadn't seen them personally.
There's some big, strong guys,
they are
right?
Big, strong guys. And I just thought, and I told him this. I said, I just want you to know, and Aaron was there, and Aaron Roderick was there, and I said, I just want you to know that, my backup quarterback was the number 1 pick of the Oakland Raiders. And
that's right.
Mark Wilson.
Yeah, that's right.
So how did I have to approach practice every day? My second string quarterback was the number 1 pick of the Chicago Bears. And so
all in the same quarterback room.
So the competition in our quarterback room when I was playing were a bunch of NFL quarterbacks. And so when you're a recruited quarterback at BYU and you actually come here, there is a lot expected. But you know what? It's like we teach the missionaries all the time. High expectations, high love. It's what we teach them.
Yeah.
High expectations. You didn't come to be a missionary to not be a very good missionary, right? So you didn't come to BYU to be just an average football player. You came here to represent Brigham Young University in a high-level, high-intensity situation. And what is more fun for an athlete to go to LaVell Edwards Stadium at night at 8 o'clock and have the whole place rocking, and it's an experience.
Yeah.
Total experience.
It is, and you got to enjoy it while you're there. How different is today's quarterback
Excuse
in college?
me, let me go on the other side. And then you got to love him. Doug Scoville loved me.
Oh yeah,
and I loved him. He was hard on me. He was tough.
But you can be hard if the player knows that you love him. You can be hard, right?
He would say to me, "Why did you throw it there?" I'm sorry. I saw the free safety go in there, and I saw the Will line. I should have been going this side. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. And it was like that. So we would go into those film rooms after I watched my feet for about 15 or 20 minutes, watched every drop, and then he would say, "What are you doing? We're going to watch some film. Why are you throwing here? Why do you throw here? You saw the free safety. He rotated that way. You got to come back to the strong side. You got to do this. You got to do this." And so it was like total drilling, right, of everything that I did. But I knew that the guy loved me.
Yeah.
I knew that he cared for me. I knew that I was playing for Doug Scoville. I was playing for the guy who coached Roger Staubach to the Heisman Trophy. And
think about the quarterback coaches that have been here.
Well,
My goodness.
you can make a case for this, Blaine. And I always try to get Lavelle to write this book. I said, you can make a case for what we are seeing in college football today offensively in the passing game and in pro football to 1976 at BYU. Doug Scoville had the West Coast offense.
It was the West Coast offense.
It was not named the West Coast offense, and he came in to, the story goes is Lavelle talked to Bill Walsh, and Bill Walsh says, if you want to throw the ball, get Doug Scoville. He just got fired as the wide receiver coach for the San Francisco 49ers. He's got the offense that everybody wants. But you'll never get him because BYU doesn't pay anything.
Right.
That was Lavelle's genius. Lavelle convinced somehow Doug Scoville to come in here and bring the West Coast offense, and then you just think of, you look at what Norm Chow did.
Oh, my goodness. Well, with Norm and Mike Holmgren and Andy Reid here as a GA with quarterback. I mean, and on and on and on.
And then just look at the passing look at the genealogical passing tree with all of those coaches, and you'll see Gary Kubiak.
It goes on and on.
It goes on and on.
It was interesting in the NFL game Sunday with the Chiefs. Jim Nantz, who was a friend of Andy Reid's and, of course, worked here in Utah a long, long time ago, was talking about it right in the middle of the game with the offense, and then there's a picture of Andy Reid, and then he was talking about Lavelle and that tree of offensive knowledge that just seemed to pour out into so many different folks, and Andy Reid's continuing it.
Yeah, and Andy's doing such a great job. And look at all of the coaches that he's influenced.
And
where they are right now and what they're doing.
And your tight end was with the Ravens and had toughness about him, but also threw the football there.
Not very much. He won a Super Bowl. The great Brian Billett, the great offense.
They won it on defense.
They won it on defense. But, you bring up this, Mike Leach. The first time I ever met Mike Leach, he was down in Houston. He came down for a bowl game, and I said, I walked into a room, and he just locked on to me. And I'd never met him before. And he just followed me around. And my cameraman, I was doing television at the time, the cameraman said, "What have you got with Mike Leach?
Who's this guy?
Who is it?" And then I came over to him, and he goes, "You're the great Giff Nielsen." And I went, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "I've seen every play you've ever run."
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, I used to hide in the bushes when I was at BYU and watch Doug Scoville coach you. Every play you've ever run, I've watched.
Wow.
And he said, the only thing I did, I couldn't compete with Texas and Texas A&M and how big they were. So I just took the BYU offense and I just took one of the running backs and put him in the slot. And then we just started to stretch the field.
Air raid is just a little bit of a tweak to the West Coast offense of what BYU ran back in those days.
Fantastic. San Diego is on the live stream tonight. San Diego, we hope you're doing well. Thanks for being with us. There are 7 Cougars in the College Football Hall of Fame, starting with you in 1994. Your nickname was the Mormon Rifle back in the day. What was that time like for you? I know you were playing basketball and you were playing football, but
now because of President Nelson, it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Latter-day Saint Rifle doesn't sound the same.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It goes right around your head. So, it was magical. I mean, how you can take a guy that was actually playing basketball. I was playing basketball, and then Scoville comes in, and at that time we had an advantage. I will just say that we had an advantage because everybody was running the veer, everybody was running the wishbone, except for Stanford and Washington State, with the throw-in Samoan, Jack Thompson. So they hadn't really seen what we were doing. But Doug always had the philosophy, whatever they do, it's wrong. And so...
Because we'll take advantage. Whatever they do, we'll take advantage of what they're doing.
If your reads are right, whatever they do defensively, they are wrong.
And he always used to say this, and tell me if you remember this, and if it's true. If we prepare right in practice, when we get in the games, it'll be so much easier in the game.
It is.
Is that how it felt to you?
Yeah, because you're all amped up and you're ready to play and you're having a great time. But he always used to say, I came here to light up the scoreboard. I came here to light up the scoreboard. So I can remember, we were in these huddles.
What quarterback doesn't love a coach that thinks that way?
Yeah, exactly right. So we would get in the huddle, and I had Todd Christensen, who was one of the most talented kids, teammates I've ever had. I had Todd Christensen and Brian Billick in the same huddle.
Yeah.
I mean, think about
and Todd was playing fullback for you, but fullback coming out of the backfield and catching balls all over the place, right?
All over the place.
And then the Raiders made him a tight end.
And then the Raiders made him a tight end because he was so athletic and he was so good. He was so strong and he was just a tough kid.
His nickname was the Mormon Rifle. Todd's was Todzilla.
Yeah, Todzilla.
At the Raiders, he was that strong.
Nice.
So.
Well, how different is today's college quarterback from when you played? Is it
the quarterbacks today, I mean, they're just getting bigger and they're getting stronger. I mean, look at when we played, Blaine, I don't know, Jim kind of broke the mold, and I think you were with Jim.
Yeah.
We never lifted. Doug would never let us lift a weight. We always pulled exergenies. So we had exergenies on our doors in our apartments, and we were just pulling, just trying to strengthen our arms and everything. And then
Jim came, and Jim was who I was there with, and Steve, and Jim's like, no, I'm lifting it, because he just liked it.
Yeah.
And then he'd go in there with Brandon Flint and Chucky and these guys and say, let's lift with the D lineman.
Yeah.
And Doug was gone, by that point. And Ted Tollner was the coordinator or the quarterbacks coach for a year, and then Mike Holmgren came in the next year and was there for the next 4. And Ted's like, yeah, but whatever, if you keep throwing it the way you're throwing it, you can do whatever you want, Jim, right?
Yeah.
And so he was like, we got to build up our triceps. Triceps are what's going to help you throw. And Jim would just do all kinds of tricep presses and stuff. So honestly, Jim's the guy that got me hooked on it. And Steve followed suit, and Steve lifted. And so we all lifted. And that was the change over time where quarterbacks started to get bigger and stronger.
Yeah. So Dale, to answer your question, though, what's the difference? What about quarterbacks today? In a quarterback today, you've got to be able to throw it. You've got to be able to read a defense, and you've got to be able to throw it. But in today's game, you've got a lot more running quarterbacks. So it's a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
I was not a dual threat quarterback. Mark Wilson wasn't a dual threat quarterback. McMahon wasn't a dual threat quarterback. He could run.
Yeah.
Steve came in as a runner
and
then developed as a passer. Robbie was a
drop back guy.
Ty was a drop back guy. And so Sarkisian was a drop back guy. Yeah. John Beck was a drop back guy. So when you come to BYU, you got to be able to read a defense, and you've got to be able to throw it.
Get the ball out on time to the right people.
So, you're talking about Avery Johnson.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a whole lot of Avery Johnson, but if you got a quarterback that's running 110 yards a game or whatever he's doing, whatever he did last week, that's a little bit different defensive game plan.
Yeah, and he's not Giff. He's not. It's not, protection's broken down, I'm running. It's like they snap it to him and run a quarterback power. Like they actually have him have called run plays, not even option plays. He's just running the ball.
Yeah.
And then if you don't stay in your rush lanes, he'll take off and kill you in the pass game. He's a crazy athletic, big, strong guy. But they can also throw the ball down the field. And he's kind of the new wave, especially in college.
Yeah.
Still in the pros, you just got to be able to throw it.
Yeah.
Because you get killed in the pros if you're running around like that.
And look at what, you don't do that in pro football.
In the NFL, you just get killed.
Because you got little missiles coming at you.
Yeah.
And those little missiles are not fun to...
No, I can't imagine.
Right. You got to have somebody intercept those missiles. not with the ball. Low.
They had to tone Steve down in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like in San Francisco, especially
But look how many...
We love you to be able to run, but you're going to get killed if you keep doing this.
So look at how many concussions Steve has had.
Right.
And we've talked about that a lot. If you take off and start running in the NFL,
you get hit.
You're going to get hit, and it's going to be bad.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guy.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.
Former BYU and NFL quarterback, emeritus general authority for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Gifford Nielsen on The Wise Guys tonight. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Emeritus general authority. What is that? What is this new life that you've now graduated to?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's really been an amazing 13 years. Well, I guess 11 years, but 13 years, 14 years since being
full-time church service.
But it's been actually 11 years, and you just go wherever the Lord sends you through apostles and prophets, and to be there to work with them and to bring joy and happiness and light to a people. And it's full-time, and you're always on. And you're supposed to be the answer to everyone's problems, and you bear witness of what you know about the Savior and everything like that. So,
is that hard?
No, it's just an honor.
To be on all the time?
It's not. You know why? And I've told Patty this a lot. I think I was programmed kind of to do it because of... You have to be on as a BYU quarterback.
Right.
You can't ever be off.
Was Brother Johnson sending you out in those days too?
Every Sunday night. Every Sunday night.
Yeah.
I've gone all throughout the Internet Mountain area doing firesides, devotionals now. And
I was at one of those when I was 8.
Yeah. Oh, you were?
Yeah.
He's younger than us.
And it was awesome, but I was there. I remember that.
So you're kind of always on, and you have to know what you're doing. But it was just a miraculous experience. Just going all over the country, go all over the country here, and then in Africa, and also in the Pacific area.
Yeah, we saw you right when you got home, just maybe a couple of days. We saw you in the parking lot over at the golf course, and you still do, but you had this glow about you, and we asked you about West Africa. You sort of the last 2 years in the area presidency over there, and you just got this huge smile on your face, and you just said, "Hey, the people over there, we're all together. They're part of us." So what was the most meaningful experience while you were over there?
Well, so many, because it just goes to show you that it doesn't really matter what language you speak, what color your skin is. It doesn't matter where you grew up, or you just come together. You're all together as one, just moving the work forward and lifting people and helping people. And so you just see miracles every day. In fact, my African brothers and sisters taught me more about life than anything I've ever learned, even football, because they have to battle every day. Those African brothers and sisters, they love Jesus. They love their family. They have to battle every day. They are so smart. They're so spiritual. They're so humble. And they teach you what the most important things in life really are. And so I was told that by many of our leaders, that I would change as Wendy and I served in West Africa, and we did in a significant way. So it was one of the most remarkable experiences anybody could ever have.
As you were down there for 2 years, outside of your family, what did you and Wendy miss the most? An American cheeseburger, a pizza, or a milkshake?
Well, actually, you can't really get a milkshake there. You can get pizza there.
Oh, you can get pizza.
Pizza's pretty much everywhere, right?
Yeah, you can get a pizza there. There are some Lebanese restaurants that are pretty good, and you can get a hamburger there, but that's not really the
thing.
Not the hamburger you get here.
Yeah.
So you miss family, you miss friends,
Sure.
I miss sporting events.
Yeah.
Although we had a chance to watch them, or we could see some delayed plays and different things like that.
Right.
So I kept in tune with kind of what's going on around here and with our teams, and very impressed once again with what's going on here. The football program. I think with Kalani right now, I think he is getting this. He has to understand that he's now in the Big 12. You have to win up front. You have to win offensive. You have to win in the pit on the offensive line and defensive line. You have to control things. And then I think we're getting better, just overall better, more athletic players.
Yeah, it's interesting because the missionary program has to be part of what BYU's doing because they're recruiting the top LDS athletes in the country. I'm trying to remember, the assistant executive director of the church missionary department. So tight end Reiner Swanson. Maybe the top tight end recruit in the country comes in this last year. We'd be seeing more of him if he didn't have a high ankle sprain all through fall camp. We saw him on a play 2 weeks ago, catch the ball and just truck. They bring him in thinking, this is an NFL draft pick tight end. He's the body type, he's the speed, he's a freak, and he's going to be great. So he's here 1 year, and now he just got his call to Nairobi, Africa.
Oh my goodness! Is he going to Nairobi?
He's going to Nairobi, Africa on his mission. So he gets this mission call. I met his folks the day he got his call. They were excited for that call to come. This is what Kalani deals with. He's got to manage that. But describe this process of how missionary assignments are determined and what impressed you the most about that whole process. Because here he is, and I'm saying, send him to Alabama so that he can stay big and strong, and he's going to Nairobi.
Big 6'5" blonde kid.
He looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
You are called by the Lord through his apostles and prophets. And I've been in the room when that has happened. I was in with Elder Cook one time when Elder Cook was given the assignment to assign 321 missionaries. And it was, the only thing you can say is divine revelation. And kind of hard to describe it, but he's going exactly where the Lord wants him to go. We do have an advantage because if you send a young man on a mission, and we're getting a lot better at that. When I was playing, it wasn't easy, but we have a lot of our athletes coming back off missions. They're not scared of anything. When you go to Nairobi, when he comes back from Nairobi, he's going to be lined up against a guy, and he's going to go, you haven't experienced what I've experienced. I'm going to win this battle. And that's the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Lord's sending his missionaries throughout the world to proclaim the gospel, to find out a little bit more about themselves, but more importantly, to have their own witness strengthened of Jesus Christ and his gospel. Just adds to everything there is about a player or about a person. And so I wholeheartedly support it. And now you can go out, and it seems like, Blaine, and I think, Dale, you've seen the same thing, you can come back and get back your skills very quickly. It's proven. You can come back and be an unbelievable player. And if your aspiration is to go to another level, you can go to another level.
It's interesting that sometimes, nobody could break the 4-minute barrier in the mile until Roger Bannister did it. And then everybody did it, right? And I think at the position that you and I played at quarterback, the prevailing thought was, well, it's just too much skill required. You have to play from the time you're little, and if we send these kids out for 2 years, they'll never come back and do it. Then Brandon Doman went out, and he came back, and he was first team all-conference, and he played in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers, and then it was like, oh,
you can do it.
You can do this.
Yeah, you can do it.
And now it's happened.
Hey, the women's soccer team, just about everyone on the team's returned missionary.
Who would think that, right?
And when they go up against an opponent, I can promise you, during a game, they're going to say, I've done something harder than I'm doing right now.
That's a great point.
In every sport. So somebody...
And more meaningful.
Kids had to pave the way. There had to be, pioneers in that area. Now, in every sport at BYU, these pioneers have gone out and done it, women's and men's. And it's...
Yeah, I mean,
you can do it.
I mean, you're looking
and
at
you can be better.
You're looking at, and I don't know all the stories, and you do, but the BYU track team, they're winning national championships with return missionaries, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the volley.
We have Olympians winning silver medals that are returned missionaries, right?
So you can do it. I mean, it's all about your mind and getting your mind and your heart right, and so I bless them. And and the coaches have to deal with this.
Sure,
the coaches have to deal with it.
It's such a hard thing to keep track of.
Look at what they're dealing with in athletics right now with NIL and also with the transfer portal. You're going to have a player 1 year, and then he's going to be gone, and then you're going to have to replace him, and so it's kind of like. Everybody else is going through what BYU's had to go through for many years.
We should be well schooled in balancing this. We're visiting with Gifford Nielsen on the Wise Guys. Not only is he former BYU quarterback who threw for over 5,500 yards and 51 touchdowns, he also played basketball at BYU for a couple of years and is with us here tonight. So let's get to a few of the really good stuff here, and then we'll hit 5 questions. Chad Lewis is coming up here in just a bit, talk about the big weekend ahead for the 96 football team. But in all these church assignments all over the world that you've gone, how often do you think was it mentioned that you played quarterback at BYU?
Not very many times.
Really?
Really. It didn't, and I didn't really bring it up.
Well, yeah, I know you wouldn't, but it seems like everyone else would.
But I can tell you that back when you were a young man, Dale, and you went to a devotional or something like that, it was all about that.
Yeah.
But I just really didn't do it a whole lot. I just kind of focused on teaching what would bring joy and happiness to people. And my athletic career, I didn't think was that topic that would do that. Although I have to say that there were times when I would throw in a story. In fact, in general conference, I did it a couple of times. Right. I did it more in general conference than I did it on a weekend.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know, somehow the inspiration comes when you're giving a talk in general conference, and it just kind of came.
But did you get the feeling that everybody knew you had played quarterback at BYU?
No, but there were times when, in fact, our staff in Africa West area finally found out, and they went, "You did what?"
Really?
After about a year and a half, you did what? Did you really play in the NFL?
You played for the Oilers?
Did you play? Did you play professional football? I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why didn't you tell us?" And I said, "I just didn't."
They come up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just all about lifting people and helping people in other ways.
We were talking about when you first came and sat in here with us about. We're all over the world with this show.
Yeah, this is great.
Right, like five continents. Right?
I just cannot believe you're saying people visiting from all these different areas.
Yeah, it's so fun. Les Namanga is in from New Mexico, one of the most famous Native American artists in the world.
No kidding.
And he joins us, and he's
that's great.
Keeping that culture alive, Native American art, which is really cool. Very gifted. He's in here. I just saw Les on the line with us. People from all over, from all kinds of cultures. Really, really cool.
But let me say that. Let me say this. That's BYU. I mean, that's what we represent. That's why every one of those players are playing right now. That's why every one of them need to know they are at BYU because we are spanning the world. It's not just Utah. It's just not the western part of the United States. We're spanning the world. And so when you come here and you play, you are literally representing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints around the world. And that was one of the keys to Lavelle's success.
Yeah.
He always taught us, you're not just a football player.
Right.
You are proclaiming what you know by what you play and how you play. And, how cool is that?
It's cool.
And
it gives you a purpose. It gives you an absolute purpose to play.
Yeah. And as it's progressed, there was this national reach, but really, and you've been around the world, it's a global reach for these athletes. We just had Olympians that were competing and they're saying, BYU's Kenneth Rooks, like that name BYU is global now.
Yeah, I mean, it used to not be.
Right.
You played when it wasn't,
no.
And I played when it wasn't, but now it is. And it's total respect. I'm looking up here at Brigham Young. You got Brigham Young.
Yes, he's on the...
What is he thinking on the other side when he's thinking about his football team, his basketball team, his track team, his soccer team? It's remarkable what has happened with Brigham Young University. It's remarkable with the respect we have around the world. It's remarkable the way people look at us, and we're not going to do anything different than what we do, and that's how we live, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, just look at the way we travel. You guys have been traveling. I haven't, but every time I see a little broadcast, they say there are more BYU fans here than there are SMU fans.
But they had 4,000 at the Wyoming game.
We're expecting when BYU plays at Arizona State later this season, we expect a take over in Tempe.
Yeah.
Like the BYU fans will take over that stadium, which will be awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, the last time Kansas State was here, it was September 10th, 1977. It was a night game at the stadium. There were 35,000 fans there. Every seat full. You threw for 318 and 2 touchdowns. You win 39-0 in the season opener. That was a long time ago, but tell me you remember that night.
Well, there were so many expectations going into that season because we were coming off such an amazing 1976.
Right.
And that was my All-American year. Mm-hmm. And so coming back, starting out with Kansas State in Big 12, although they weren't the
Big
top
Eight
at
then, right?
Excuse me, the Big 8 at the time. They weren't at the top of the league, but they were still in that league. And so you have the place was packed. Everybody was so excited to go play. And then we just came out and started flinging it around and just having the greatest time. And there's nothing they could do about it. And it was just.
Did you have this feeling like they just can't stop us?
They just can't stop us. In fact, I think I only played like 3/4 of the game or something like that.
No, in fact, I don't even know if you played in the second half. Mark had a touchdown pass. He was like 8 of 9 for 101. Mark Wilson was your backup. That's crazy.
Mark Wilson got more plays in those first 3 games of 1977 because we went to Utah State.
You killed them. It was like
New
65-6.
Yeah, New Mexico. And I think I only played in the first half of any of those games.
How long does it take in a game like that? How many drives, how many plays for you to just go, this team cannot stop us?
Well, when we went out on the field, because that was Doug. Sure. That was Doug saying, this team cannot stay with us. They cannot stop us. The only people that can stop us is us. There's not a team that can slow us down. We lost in the bowl game to Oklahoma State because they overpowered us. They just
Terry Miller.
They were just Philip Dokes and John Corker. I had John Corker in Houston. Those guys were just bigger than
monsters.
We were, and they were stronger and they were faster, and we just could not hold them down. And but that was Doug. He had us so prepared for every game that we went out on the field, and when we got going, it's just like I would come up to the line of scrimmage sometimes with a smile on my face going, everybody in the stands does not know that this is going to be a touchdown pass, but this is going to be a touchdown pass because there's no way they can stop this. It is one of the greatest feelings in the world.
That's awesome.
There were times, and I'm sure you had this too, where if we were in a tight ball game for some reason, and the other team, I remember this in '81 when Jim was a senior, and I can't remember who it was, but they went down and scored, and I looked up at the scoreboard. I was standing next to Robbie, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a bunch of idiots. They scored too fast. Like, we'll win for sure now. Like, I felt like if we get the ball back with more than 3 minutes, there's no way this team can stop Jim from going down the field and scoring. And you had that a lot when you were playing.
Yeah, so that was Doug.
Yeah.
And Lavelle was smart enough to say it was Doug.
Yeah.
That was him. That was the genius of Lavelle Edwards. When Doug Scoville came to BYU, there were only 4 guys that could call the plays. Norm was working on it. But Doug Scoville, me, Mark Wilson, Jim.
He was just a youngin'.
Yeah, he was just over there punting, and we didn't know if he had shoes on. He didn't know if he had socks on. But there were and maybe Brian Billick kind of learned it because he was a student of the game. But there were not very many people that could call the plays. And so that's how we started this whole thing. And it just blossomed into what it is today. Yeah. I mean, one of the powerhouses in the entire country.
Mesa, Arizona on the live stream. Perth, Australia in with us.
Perth. There you go.
Yes,
welcome,
all my
Perth.
friends in Perth.
Just dropped the kids off at school in
Tuesday.
Perth. Go Cougs. Excited to hear from a legend tonight.
Perth to Perth, the end of the earth. That's so far away, but those people are so amazing in Perth, Australia.
That's cool.
I love it. A lot of friends.
Fast forward 47 very short years to Saturday night. What are the keys for BYU to beat Kansas State this time around?
Well, let's start offensively, okay? Okay, offensively, Jake has got to be settled down. This is a new level. This will be a new level of intensity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're coming. They're coming after him.
Right.
And he has just got to be confident in the pocket and be able to move and be able to just trust himself as the quarterback of this team. I think if there's one thing right now for Jake, it is just to trust himself and trust the system and trust the calls and just play within himself. He cannot do what he did against SMU.
Right.
You can't give the ball away because against great teams like this, you just can't lose a ball on a fumble.
Give him a short field and
you can't give him.
Do it.
No short fields. Can't have any turnovers. He can't. He's got to be able to control himself. I don't know How much we're going to be able to run the ball. I don't know where our running back situation, with the running back situation
One and two may both still be out this week, so that hurts.
That hurts you. You got to be really good on special teams. And then I am so impressed with Jay Hill and the way he's got his defensive players playing, all the coaches and everything like that. If you really watch this carefully, I think for everybody to understand and know this is gap control. This is very rarely do you see people or the opposing team get outside BYU right now. He's got these guys conditioned so well to bring everything back inside, and they've got a lot of talent on that defensive side right now.
So hold the edge?
So it is hold the edge defensively. Nice. You got to hold it. You always have to keep an eye on the quarterback, Blaine. Especially a running quarterback like that, you have to keep a spy on him. You have to know where he's going to be. And the nice thing about BYU right now, I don't know if we've ever had better defensive backs. That's not to take away from, as a collective group.
Yeah, there's been some good ones and twos.
We've had some amazing defensive backs here.
Gennaro Guilford said before the season in an interview we did with him that he said, I promise you this is the best group of DBs we've ever had. He goes, that might sound crazy, but we are deeper than we've ever been in program history.
They have 10 guys that can play back there.
Well, and they can play man coverage.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to win every battle man coverage, but what BYU I think needs to do, and I don't even know their game plan, but I think they need to put a lot of pressure on this quarterback, keep a spy on him, and then make him throw perfect passes. That's a hard thing.
Make him throw, but from the pocket, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Just make him throw perfect passes. And if he does it, then you tip your hat to him and say, nice throw. Okay, we're coming at you again. Nice throw. We're coming at you again. You threw that in a little bit high and outside, and we just picked it off.
Yeah.
Because you just have to put pressure on him. He's got to feel the pressure. And you know what? He's got to feel the pressure of the crowd. He's got to feel the pressure of playing at Lavelle Edwards Stadium at night with all of those people. Just feel the pressure. Pressure on the field, pressure in the stands, pressure everywhere. And I think BYU's got a chance to go 4-0.
Yeah, I like it. As I've watched him play last year and now this year, I feel like he's better when he's out ad-libbing, not when you make him stand in there and deliver strikes.
The K-State quarterback?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him play, but they say he's quite an athlete.
You said something which really rings home about this defense. We watched last year, and we'd go back and watch the film, and we'd go, oh, gosh, they're not – that team just ran the ball on them. They're not getting manhandled up front. These guys are not in the right gaps. That guy's not here. And it took Jay Hill, I think, all of last season to feel the way you felt about Doug Scoville in the offense. Guys, we are talented. If everybody will do their job, trust the system and trust each other, we can be lights out. Yeah. And I feel like this season they started with, let's trust this defense. Let's trust each other. And now we're watching film after games. We're going, look at everybody's in their gaps. Everybody's gap sound. Everybody's doing their job. Everybody's trusting each other. And now they're very good.
And if they force a runner back inside, you've got the speed to close the gap.
So they're feeling a little bit like that Doug Scoville offense where they're like, we're good and we know we're good. And if we do what we're supposed to do, we can shut teams down. And that's fun.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guy.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.
Logandale, Nevada on the live stream tonight. Good to have you with us, joining everybody else. 5 Questions is presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. Owned and operated by a BYU alum who's helping wise guys conquer the world. And as I say that, Jacksonville, Florida hops in on the stream as well to listen to Gifford Nielsen. All of this great interview, which has been awesome, has led up to these next 5 questions.
And I like what Rick Banovich's comment says. What a gift we're enjoying right now. Football expertise and gospel principles all at the same time.
It's the perfect blend.
Right here, I felt like I could, on this podcast, kind of throw.
That's what we do.
Yeah, you did. That's how we roll.
This is what we started this for. We wanted a forum where we could do just that if we wanted to. So.
Thank you for allowing me to do it.
Yeah, well, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
I think he's ready.
What do you got?
We're giving me 5 questions.
You got me 5 questions?
Yeah, but they're quick. And you just have the first thing that comes to your mind. So this is how.
Is it a one-word answer here?
No.
Oh, you can
elaborate.
Hey, Las Vegas is in just in time for 5 questions. Here we go.
Coming in from Vegas. So here we go. Your favorite sports movie?
Oh, gosh. Gosh, Rudy? I don't know.
Rudy, that's a good one.
I love Rudy.
Okay.
I cry every time.
I just think that's inspiration. Isn't Rudy now a member of the church?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Mean, the guy who played Rudy?
Yeah.
So it's got to be Rudy. Yeah.
I did a fireside with him a couple of years ago
you did.
at the U of all places. None of that makes sense.
Hey, listen, we love the University of Utah.
I know.
Rudy is. Dave and I were doing a show from the sideline at Notre Dame when BYU was playing there, and the real Rudy comes in through the end zone, and he, the fans go, Rudy. Dave and I were getting goosebumps. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, he's a member
I
of the
also
church.
I haven't watched a whole lot of movies, but Hoosiers was pretty good.
Hoosiers is my number one.
Okay.
That's his. Marie
Osmond's
Marie
number one,
Osmond
too.
says Hoosiers. When she came on, she said Hoosiers. We're like, that's because you married Steve, Craig. But okay, your favorite singer or band? Nobody said the Motabs, but
Yeah, I was going to say that. But you did. But they're not they're
they're not a
singers,
band or a singer.
But I'm
they're
going to say the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Choir.
No, excuse me. No, I'm going to say the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
Okay, there you go.
We're going to run these by Steve Young. He's going to be with us in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So here's what Giff told
So
us.
Giff said this. Are you
Choir.
buying it?
Yeah.
Are you buying it?
Yes. Actually, they are my favorites because if I ever just need a little bit of downtime, I've got a couple of favorites that I just put on there just to bring everything down.
Hey, as you say that, South Georgia is in the house tonight.
They go Rudy from South Georgia. There you go. Naperville, Illinois in the house too. So, okay, your favorite breakfast cereal?
Raisin Bran.
Do you put extra sugar on it, or do you just go with the sugar that they already put on it?
Just the sugar they've already got on it.
Which is minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I love Raisin Bran, but I have to have an extra teaspoon of sugar. So, your favorite BYU moment, and it doesn't have to be on the football field. Anything that happened to you at BYU, that can be your favorite moment.
Gosh, so many of them. Man. Not too many people know about this one, but this was against Arizona.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This was against Arizona. We knew we had in 1976, we knew we had to beat Arizona and Arizona State, and both of those games were classic. But we played against Arizona, and we played down in Tucson, and right before the game, there was just a severe rainstorm. So we played the whole game with a medicine ball. It was crazy.
Wet,
we had
heavy.
to win. And we had the ball on about the 43-yard line with 5 seconds left to go in the game. And not too many people know this play. And I can remember we called timeout. We had to score a touchdown. And I went over to the sidelines, and Doug said, okay, we're going to win this game. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we have to throw a touchdown pass.
Right now.
Right.
And he goes, I want you to do this. I want you to drop back, and then I want you to come up in the pocket to the left, and then I want you to sprint to the right. And I went, how do you know that's going to work? He said, this is what I want you to do. And he said, then Chronister, Mike, you go down and cut this way, you cut this way. And then Gorgeous George, he called him Gorgeous George because he had the little locks coming in. He said, George, you go down, take your time, and then just run to the post. And once you get to the sideline, you square your shoulders and you turn around and you throw that medicine ball as hard as you can to the end zone.
And George will be wide open?
No, George is going to be there. And so I dropped back. This was our Hail Mary. Nobody talks about this. They talk about the Clay Brown,
right?
That's because it was on TV.
Yeah. So I dropped back. I went to the left just a little bit, just exactly what Doug said. And then I rolled to the right, and I threw the medicine ball, that football, and I think I threw it about 5 yards out of bounds. And somehow the ball just curved and hit George Harrison.
Was the wind blowing? Oh, this is divine intervention.
You threw a curveball?
This is divine intervention.
I think it went out. I don't know exactly, but it landed right in the hands of George Harris
for the touchdown
to win it.
Wow.
And they put.
We never talk about that.
No. You got to go back.
We got to go find that video footage.
That play, because that was the big play to get the season
when
going.
We're doing the Arizona pregame. We got to find that play.
Yeah. Find that play.
That'll put Jim McMahon in his place. He wasn't the first Hail Mary.
No, heavens no. That was not the first Hail Mary. We did so many other things before that.
That's great.
But we had to beat Arizona down there, and then came back. And
so this is 76, Arizona in Tucson. We got to get that footage.
And one of the great games of all time, one of the great game plans of all time was against Arizona State when they came to BYU a couple of weeks later. And we beat Arizona State.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And they were the powerhouses in the league then.
They were the powerhouse.
That was the changing of the guard. Then they were like, man, we can't compete. We got to go to the Pac-12.
Yep.
So
that was a special moment. And then, can I just do one more?
Yes, of course.
Put into the,
Chad can just hang on for a second.
Just being put into the put into the College Football Hall of Fame, representing BYU and what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
That was a special moment.
Yeah. Well, here's the fifth and most important question of all. And I don't know if Wendy's listening or not, but what's the best advice that your wife Wendy's ever given you?
She's always talking about trust. Just trust yourself.
Yeah.
Just trust yourself, because you can do this. She always said that. You know what it's like. You go up and down and all around in athletics, basketball and football in my particular situation. But she just trusted me, and she said, I'm always here for you. So we've had many talks about many different things, especially when we got to the pro level. That's a whole new ball game. Whole new ball game.
That's great.
Don't we all need somebody in our life that when we're doubting, they say, you just got to trust yourself because you can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's Wendy. I can see that.
Yep, she's amazing.
That's great. Hey, it's Hall of Fame night here on the Wise Guys. We have Hall of Famer Gifford Nielsen. We also have Hall of Famer Chad Lewis, who is joining us via Zoom from California. Let's bring Chad in here for a sec.
How would you like to be able to throw to Chad Lewis?
The biggest catch radius.
Gosh. And all you have to do is just get it in the general direction, and then after he catches it, he gets about 25, 30 extra yards.
Yeah, I had some times when I got to throw to Chad when he was with the Eagles in off season to throw a few balls, and let me tell you, it's awesome.
Chad, what do you think of all this?
Hey, you can have Giff on as long as you want. I mean, he's a beast.
I threw so many touchdown passes to Chad Lewis in my dreams. He was always open.
He had a guy named Steve Sarkisian who threw him a lot of touchdown passes. But what if you were Giff's tight end, Chad? What would that have been like?
Gosh.
Just throw it, man. I love it. I love my quarterbacks.
Is there any BYU receiver ever, Chad, that had a bigger catch radius than you? Or are you the all-time biggest catch radius of all times?
Great question. I think Ben Cahoon might have had a bigger one because he could jump like a cat. So he made his 6 foot, catch radius go to like 12 feet.
Yeah. I can tell you that's the wrong answer.
That's right.
Chad is Chad Lewis. Chad Lewis. I don't know. It's Chad
Giff,
Lewis.
you made the jump pass a thing.
My goodness.
And Chad made the jumping over defenders a thing.
I can tell you this. When Doug Scoville came in and said, we're going to run a jump pass, I'm going, what are you thinking? I'm going to get killed. But Chad Lewis, he was always jumping over people. And he had the ability to do that. He could leap tall buildings at a single bound. This guy, he wore a Superman T-shirt under that uniform.
Chad, let's make this transition as we before we say goodnight to Giff. It's 100 years of BYU football, and your team's going to be honored Saturday as part of the game from the 96 squad. But how important were the guys who played football in the mid-'70s to make your night and where BYU is today possible?
We talked about them all the time. We watched their tapes. We saw Giff's jump pass. We throw on the film, whether it was Coach Chow or Lance Reynolds, we put on the tape, and we just watched the old stuff, and it just inspired us. We definitely felt, this is something said all the time, that we stood on the shoulders of giants. We felt like that. It was real for us. We had national champions before us, and all that mattered. When we got there, we just felt like we were going to win every game. That was the feeling. That was BYU football.
Well said.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and they just keep it going, because here's what I see. I was there at the start, the very beginning. And now look at the reputation BYU has around the country. We're in every conversation. It's because of players like Chad Lewis and Vaiseka now that's serving down in South Africa, and all the quarterbacks and all the running backs and you just look at it and you just can't point to one thing other than just total commitment and caring for each other. And so guys like Chad, it's just, this is BYU football right here.
Yeah.
He's looking right at you, Chad.
You do what Chad did on the field. You do what he did in pro football, and now you're doing what he's doing right now to lift BYU athletics.
Hey, that's exactly what you did.
He's doing that guy. I like that guy. Look at that smile.
I've been in Ghana, Africa with Giff, watching him do his thing with people, and it's really cool. So I agree. Like, to see people play football at BYU, then go on and make an impact in their school, community, church, whatever. I love that. I think that's BYU, that's Lavelle Edwards, that's kind of the package. It's a really cool package.
And now Kalani.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You guys really are wise guys.
Yeah,
we're having so much fun because we've never had a forum like this, and it's growing and it's reaching around the world, and we love that we can just have these casual. You know how you worked in TV for all these years. Everything's like a 4-minute soundbite, and now we get to sit down and talk about real things with people for 45 minutes, and it's awesome, and we love it.
Chad, I wish you were here in this very impressive basement because it's like something
He's been here. He's been here.
Oh, yes, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's been here.
So,
hey, thanks, Giff.
Thanks so much, Giff.
We'll talk to you soon. You're welcome
brother.
back here anytime. You know that.
Let's go out and hit it before the weather gets bad.
Okay.
Now that you're home.
Gifford Nielsen.